Hi everyone, I'm David. I support GenXGrownUp on Patreon, and you should too. Don't you want to keep this great content coming? So you know what to do. Go to genxgrownup.com/Patreon and just do it.
GenXGrownUp is a YouTube channel, website, and audio podcast you're listening to right now. All made for and by people who love exploring media, games, tech, and toys of yesterday and today through the eyes of Gen Xers who refuse to grow up. Your dinner cannot just be French fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up. Welcome back, Gen X Grown Up podcast listener, to this, the backtrack edition of the Gen X Grown Up podcast. I am John. Joining me, as always, of course, my man George. Hey, George.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good. You know that Mo is here. Hey, Mo.
Hey, how's it going?
So imagine this. It's a hot afternoon in the mid-'80s. You walk in, drop your stuff, switch on the TV. There's that same Gilligan's Island episode you've already seen a dozen times, but it still feels comforting. For Gen X, reruns weren't just background TV. They were part of our daily routine. They taught us jokes, culture, and how to share the living room. Now, in a world of endless streaming choices, we're looking back at how those old repeats shaped us and what it means that they've mostly disappeared for a large portion of the population. Going to have tons on that in a moment. And we actually had debates right before we pushed recording about the validity of the premise of this episode. We're going to cover all of that and share with you. Before we do, it is time for our fourth listener email. The three of us are here. We're liable to listen, and if anyone else does and lets us know about it via email, you are the fourth listener. And for this episode, that is Michael F. He dropped us a line with the subject, Mad Magazine episode. Here's what he had to say. John, Mo, and George. George is in last place again. We got him back where he needs to be. During the Mad Magazine episode, the Star Wars issue came up during the conversation. I have the Star Wars musical parody issue. I don't believe it's the specific issue you talked about, but I'd like to gift it to Mo. Because,
What?
Oh, here we go, Mo. During a later episode, a listener asked, what candy bar from your childhood would you like to see return? I immediately thought about the Marathon bar, and it's same one Mo said. I felt like a kindred spirit moment with Mo right then. So if Mo or any of you would be interested in the magazine, please let me know. It's a small gesture to express my gratitude for the content you all provide. How kind of him. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
So Mo, if you're interested, if you're your spirit animal, Michael, you would like to pick up the magazine, you let me know. Give me his email address. You hit him up, and you guys can work out the
logistics behind it.
Yeah, the back alley exchange, whatever it takes to get that to you. Michael, I'd like to gift it to you. He wraps up his email saying, "Hope you all have a wonderful holiday." This just came in during the holiday break. Michael F. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate that. We struck on a lot of things. Remember the Marathon bar? We talked about it.
Yeah.
If you're listening now and your Marathon bar is like, oh God, yeah. Every time we mention it, you can still get it if you go to Amazon, but search for Curly Whirly. It's made in the UK.
Yeah.
And it's almost exactly. It's even like in that ribbon, that like woven
the weave
shape
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yes. It looks like a braid. Yeah. Yeah. So Marathon bar still out there called Curly Whirly. Sort of. You still pick it up, and Mo's going to get a free magazine because he loved it so much. So. If you would like your email feature here on the show, it's drop dead easy. Just hit us up at podcast@genxgrownup.com. Read every single email. Most of them, like Michael's, especially if there's a gift involved, is going to make its way to this show. All right. Get back from this quick break. We are jumping into the rise and fall of the rerun. Stick around. You're listening to Gen X Grown Up. But if you have a friend who's not yet listening, why not? Tell them about us. They'll thank you later.
Look who's coming this fall to Fox 33.
I can't believe we're here.
I can't either. And for 5 nights a week.
That is hard to believe.
Family Ties, 5 nights a week. That means if you miss one,
Stay where you are. There'll be another one tomorrow.
Dallas Fort Worth's favorite Fox.
I knew that.
And a smart one.
Me knew that.
On Family Ties, this fall on Fox 33.
So I want to kick off this discussion with just talking about, like, what was it like to just live with, appointment TV and reruns?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
70s, 80s, really until even before like VHS tapes came popular, you weren't in control of your own destiny as far as what you watched on TV as you are today.
We talk about this in passing a lot. Appointment TV. You got to watch. You got to pick it up. But we have not ever specifically just zeroed in on what it was about it. And it's if you weren't there, if you're listening to this podcast, you weren't around at that time, it was very much, hey, look, networks had shows. You had these 3 networks that had the best shows, CBS, NBC, ABC. This was before Fox. Maybe had some reruns on, on channel 94, 62 or whatever crazy UHF you had, right? But you had your shows. In the last episode, we were talking about, I loved my Incredible Hulk and $6 Million Man and whatever. And you look at the TV guide, you're like, what is Steve Austin doing this week? It's a repeat from last, earlier in the season or last year or something. So then you knew you could skip it and watch something else because you didn't have the luxury of, as you said, Mo, recording on a VHS or doing something else. You got what you got, whatever they aired when they aired it. You were at their mercy.
Yeah. I mean, really part of the limitation was that there was only so many channels. Mm-hmm. I feel spoiled because I grew up in New York and we had 3 network channels and then we had the subsidiary channels. Like Fox at the time was just a subsidiary channel. It wasn't a network at the time. WPIX. We had a whole bunch of local ones that just really, they played like a whole bunch of the reruns during the day. They took the syndicated shows, but because we only had 3 channels, you really were limited as what you could watch. And it's a really big conundrum if you wanted to watch something that was on the same time on 2 different channels, because you're basically out of luck. You had to pick one and that was it.
One benefit of the reruns, other than if you missed it because 2 things were on at the same time that you experienced, that I remember coming across, maybe I saw, this happened to me a lot, even in like in the Nick at Night days when they would air old TV shows that we used to watch as kids on Nick at Night, is you thought you've seen them all, right? Because you're like, I know Taxi backwards and forwards. I've seen all of them. And then all of a sudden on one random night, you look in the TV guide, or you turn on the TV and you're like, wait a minute, Taxi's been off the air for years. How is there a new episode? And it's because you missed it the first time, but you didn't know you missed it the first time. And then it pops up because you only really often you had 2 chances. You had the first run, you had the rerun that season, and the next season also went to syndication. You didn't get the opportunity to go back and look at it.
And there's certain shows that we would not even be exposed to or have liked if it wasn't for the fact that there were reruns and syndications, like Star Trek. I never saw Star Trek on prime time.
Right. Because that was 66 to 69. Right.
So the only time I ever saw it was after school. It was like 5:30 or something like that it was on channel 11. I still remember it. But there was a whole after school kind of like system where it was like you got home, there was usually cartoons, then reruns, then news, the evening news, and then it went to the whole evening. Then you went to your network channels and the other stuff at that point. But again, there was just so many shows like the Brady Bunch, Good Times. I mean, there were shows, like I said, I never ever would have watched if it wasn't for the fact that they were on syndication and shown as reruns on a different channel than where they originally aired.
And that was the way that I connected with my older brother because, you know that George and I are the biggest Star Trek nerds. And I didn't want to watch Star Trek, but he was bigger than me. He was 10 years older than me. And it was after school and Star Trek was on. He just didn't care what cartoon I was watching. He walked up and he turned it to the TV when Star Trek was on. And I either had to stop watching TV or watch Star Trek with him. So it was that syndicated rerun that allowed me to actually get exposed to shows, like you said, that I wouldn't have otherwise seen at all.
Yeah. It's funny because you mentioned at the opening how, you watch Gilligan's Island. It's the same episode you've seen a dozen times.
Yeah.
I think I have seen every episode of Gilligan's Island at least like 5 times. Just because, after school turning it on, it was always on every day. Where you think about it, they come out with 26 episodes a season. I think back then is what it was. And now they're showing it 5 days a week. So they could blow through a season worth of shows in a little over a month.
Right.
So then they start recycling them again. So instead of a half year cycle, you were watching the same shows every 6 to 8 weeks. The same shows were coming on again and again and again. And another thing that was really funny is that, so you have these old TV shows, that haven't been on the air for 5-10 years, so even longer sometimes, like the Honeymooners and stuff. But every one of my friends has seen them. Like everybody I know has seen these same shows, and we can sit there and talk and joke about Gilligan's Island or how hot Ginger was or whatever it was that we talked about back then when we were kids. It was just such a big part of me growing up. I think of any Gen X kid who watched TV a lot. It was such a big part of just the whole way that we watched TV and what we consumed and really how we spent a lot of our afternoons that, after this, I want to kind of get into just kind of a little bit behind the scenes. First off, like why certain shows get reruns and certain ones didn't, where do they air? Why do they air there? So I think that's something we could talk about in the next segment.
All right. Stick around. We'll be right back. Be sure to subscribe to or follow Gen X Grown Up wherever you listen. And while you're there, rate and review the show too. It helps more than you know.
Tuesday.
They're just friends. A man and a woman can be just friends, you know. Why?
Angela confronts her feelings.
I love Tony.
You sure it's love?
Positive.
The season premiere of Who's the Boss? Then, 3 guys give motherhood a try.
What are we gonna do?
I'll take the south end. Super absorbent. Bring it over. Okay, now what? Okay, spinner. The baby's a pig.
A special preview of Full House following the season premiere of Who's the Boss? Tuesday.
Now, Mo, you mentioned in the last segment that we wanted to jump into kind of why reruns, and not so much why they were a thing. We know why they were a thing. It had to do with, I guess we kind of don't, how many episodes there are, how many you needed to produce, and the fact that there was a numbers game being played that didn't result in a new episode of a show every single week, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, there was this, I guess they call it the 100 episode rule. And I don't know if it was a hard, fast rule or a guideline, but that was like the magic for a TV show, that if they hit that 100 episodes, they were in good shape, because even if they got canceled, the odds are that some TV station was going to pick them up in syndication. Because you had to have at least 100 episodes, because I guess that would last 20 weeks worth of programming for a TV show normally, because they show it every single day.
Because you mentioned a second ago, like maybe you could run through the whole season really fast because you're running it every day or a couple of days.
And like kind of like mentioned before, like, you know, those local stations, I was trying to figure out how the costing works on them, but obviously these shows were much, much cheaper than trying to do a whole original show and put it on the air. Plus, I guess it worked for the time, again, because things were limited, and because you had limited options, people were almost, as long as you did something more interesting than what the neighboring channels did, you were better. It's like, you don't have to be the fastest person to outrun a bear. You just have to be faster than the person next to you. It's kind of like that. Like, you didn't have to be the most interesting show, but you had to be
the slowest person,
the most interesting at that time, you know, for that demographic that you're trying to hit.
Yeah, and we were latchkey kids. We've talked about this many times. And you could say this is true of all of TV, but reruns too they were used as a babysitter. They were, especially when they went into syndication, and we saw that episode again and again. We've talked about how it helped us to bond with our siblings and whatever, especially with my brother in Star Trek. But because it was so familiar and it was inoffensive, and often it was older TV shows, Flintstones and cartoons and stuff like that. I remember there was a block of stuff. They didn't have like Andy Griffith, and then you had Gomer Pyle, USMC, that was a spinoff of that. And they'd do all the rural things. There'd be Beverly Hillbillies and Green Acres and all the country shows they would lump together. I would just sit and just watch them one after another. And before you knew it, my parents were home, or it was time for dinner, or whatever it was. I had burned through like 3 hours of my afternoon.
You know, and it's really amazing how much we could watch the same shows. I say the same shows, but actually the same episodes over and over again. Like, you really didn't care. Like I said, I feel kind of like we were not very discerning viewers back then as kids. Kind of interesting how like some of these old shows were probably more popular to us as kids than when they first aired. I mean, if you think about it, like,
what do you mean by that? More popular to us?
Look at like Flintstones. That was actually a network TV show at one point. It was on prime time, and it came on. But as kids, you know, my dad probably could watch it and couldn't remember episode. I pretty much remember every single Flintstones episode.
So you know better than him. You saw it more.
Yeah, I saw the same episodes more often than he did. I saw them over and over and over again. Some of them I think became almost part of our generation as opposed to the previous generation in a way.
You just said something that I don't necessarily agree with. You said they were more popular in the reruns than they were in the original airing. But if they weren't really popular in the original airing, they wouldn't have gotten to your 100 episode limit to become reruns or syndicated in the first place.
Well, true. I mean, I guess I would say
you're talking about two different things. You're talking about reruns versus syndication, right? So reruns, in my opinion, are the shows that they air while the show is still live on the air during its regular seasons, that happen because they only air 26 episodes per season, but there's more than 26 weeks in a year. And they fill up the summer months with the shows that people might have missed during the spring or fall. And that's a rerun. Syndication is completely different because the show is off the air. It's been, canceled or retired or whatever the case may be for the show. And now it's been brought back because it was super popular, and they realized that more people would continue to watch it because it was so popular in its original run. Yeah,
it's a very good distinction too. I mean, it's like this thing that eats its own tail, sort of. It's like, I'd agree. The definition of rerun technically is in the initial run.
In the same season, in a way.
we had those and they were a very different thing than the syndication. That's a really good point. I think the interesting point Mo was making, though, like the Flintstones is a really great example. They probably didn't know the Flintstones, though they grew up with it in its initial run, as well as we did, because we got to see it so much and would not have. It has its initial popularity that gave it its longevity. It wasn't until syndication that we got to see it. And it was because they watched it and had their rerun cycle.
And there were, I mean, George, I think you're absolutely right. There were a couple exceptions where I know things were actually syndicated before they were done, like MASH. MASH
Really?
Early season MASH were already in syndication before it ended.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, you could watch, I could watch MASH.
I thought syndication didn't happen until it was all done, really.
Nope, because they're never going to go back, because a rerun, like George mentioned, if it's season 5, they showed the season 5 rerun, and they're done. You know, that channel, CBS, wherever it aired, isn't going to show any more of those episodes. They're not going to go back and show season 5 again. So then they started syndicating the earlier episodes. So you could rewatch the first few seasons of MASH on syndication while it was still creating new episodes on CBS.
I thought it was very binary. I thought it was one or the other. Is it still running?
Well, I mean,
or is it still not?
There is the classic example for us, John, Star Trek Next Generation, which I put in the list for us to talk about, because it's one of the rare shows that was sold in syndication to start.
That's right. It didn't have a network.
There was a whole story behind that, right?
Because they couldn't air as a network show.
Yeah.
They at the time, nobody wanted to put Star Trek on the air because the original series didn't do well. That first movie was meh, but they just didn't believe that science fiction could really hold its ratings in primetime TV. Because when was the last science fiction show before the early 90s that you had? I mean, you didn't have the quantum leaps. You didn't have any of that stuff before this. And the last things you really had were things like Battlestar Galactica 1980 and Buck Rogers season 2 and those kind of shows. So they didn't believe it could hold its water. So the only way they could get it on the air was to sell it through Paramount syndication system.
What's funny is that even though it was it was a syndicated show from the start, it was still structured just like a network show. They only got like 26 episodes a season, or 22 during the writer's strike or whatever, but still same idea. But I remember enduring reruns of the syndicated Star Trek, even though it was a syndicated show. And that's where the little UHFs grabbed those things, right? UHFs that didn't have their own original programming. Even in syndication, they were behaving like the networks were with this thing. Yeah, we're going to run it for, what'd you get? 8 or 10, 12 episodes, and then you run 10 or 12 repeats. Then you get 10, or you get mid-season break, and get 10 or 12, and then you get the repeats from those. I remember waiting all summer to find out what happened with the Borg and Picard, and watching repeats of season 4 leading up to that. And I'm not sure how much I realized at the time that it was modern syndication acting like first run television, because it was first run, just in syndication.
Yeah, I don't, maybe you guys remember this not. When Next Generation first came out, was it shown daily?
No.
It was once a week.
Yeah.
Saturdays. Well, depending on your local station.
Wherever you live.
Here,
Yeah, different
it was
stations.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's that's also very unusual for syndication, because normally they just, because they pay for the show, so they probably aired it as much as they humanly could normally, right? To get as much out of each one they could.
Right. But I think it was part of the agreement. They're like, we don't have a real network, but in syndication, it's going to be first run for you. So it's in a way, it's not repeats, right? It's syndication that aren't repeats, which is kind of diametrically opposed to what you think of in terms of syndication.
Yeah, because, I mean, when you're talking strictly about reruns, if we go by the definition we think we might have agreed to, during the original airing of a series, you get a rerun in the place of when that show was supposed to air. So if that show aired Friday nights at 8 p.m. and they didn't have a new show, then it was a rerun that would air in that same slot, because what the network wanted was people to tune in, and they wanted to see BJ and the Bear at 8 o'clock on Friday, but they didn't want to see a new show because they couldn't afford 52 new shows every year. They could only afford 26. And that was kind of the model and the standard. When you get to syndication, and to Mo's point about airing as much as possible, those are oftentimes different stations, different networks that are airing a show that may be aired somewhere else. So they're paying royalties to that original rights owner, and they're airing them as often as possible because they started then to do the things of binge blocks, right? And we have binging now in first run, right? Netflix will drop an entire series at once, or Amazon Prime or whoever. But back then, that was when we first, syndication, when it really got popular in the late 70s, early 80s, that's when we really started getting these binge blocks where for an entire weekend, watch all of All in the Family.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Load it up. And
you get like 40 episodes that they would just run them back to back to back. As soon as we did the super stations and stuff where things started airing 24 hours as opposed to during the cycle
that's a
that
lot
would
of
end
time
at
to
midnight.
fill.
Yeah. I think they realized they had a lot more slots than they thought, and they weren't terribly creative with how they filled them.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think back. I don't necessarily remember when I realized that TV shows were on I almost said on a schedule. I knew they were on a schedule. This airs this day and this time, but that they weren't just giving me a new show every time. I didn't necessarily, because I didn't think of TV back in the 60s and 70s and 80s when we were growing up. I didn't think of TV in terms of like, oh, I must see season 3, episode 4. Now I must see season 3, episode 5. It was just Bionic Man. I was just wanting to see it if it was on. And I didn't realize if I missed one, it didn't occur to me that I missed it. It was just, I didn't get to see it last week. It didn't occur to me that one's git to me until it reruns.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then it was like gradually later you go, wait a minute. I feel like I've seen this one before. Oh yeah. But it was subtle. It was almost like this epiphany that, wait a minute, they're running them 2 times? Maybe the one I missed was a repeat. I don't even know. But it was almost like you find out there's no Easter Bunny. Like one of those things like, wait a minute, what, you're not making Gomer Pyle still? That's not still a new show? Oh, that's black. I thought it was black and white because it was on channel 35. I didn't know it was black and white because it was from the 60s.
Oh man, you guys made some really great points. When we come back, we're going to talk more about why reruns, in syndication or not, were more important to us as Gen Xers.
Each episode of Gen X Grown Up has show notes loaded with links where you can learn more about our topics. And there's even more to see and hear over at GenXGrownUp.com.
On the next Win, Lose, or Draw, Barbara Eden may have met her match.
Oh, come on.
As Ricardo Montalban and Richard Klein have come out fighting.
Nathan, tooth and nail.
Tooth and nails, right. But out of this world's Donna Pescow has learned how to draw some fire of her own. Hurry up, Donna! And in the end, everyone shows a little heart. That's it! On the next Win, Lose, or Draw.
Tomorrow at 3:30 on Channel 8.
In this segment, it's important for us to talk about why reruns were so important to Gen X. We've talked about what they were. We've talked about the whole structure of reruns and syndication and everything. But why were they important specifically to Gen X? Well, since we're all Gen Xers, I thought it would be a good idea if each one of us had a main reason why it was important to us. And I'm going to start. For me, reruns were pivotal and important because of the lack of technology. Now, what do I mean by that? So television was a medium that it aired and then it was gone. We didn't have recorded devices in our homes. The TV stations and the movie studios and all those people had them, but we didn't have them in our weren't didn't have VHS tapes until the mid 80s. Well, I mean, I know we had them earlier that, but they weren't
the average
person
we didn't all have
popular.
Them. Yeah.
We didn't have streaming. We didn't have internet at all until early 90s. And that if you ever have watched a TV show in the compression formats of the early 90s, you understand we didn't really have TV shows online for a long time. But for me, the technology, the lack of the ability to, as Mo put it earlier, control your own destiny with what you watched and when you watched it is the main reason why reruns are important to Gen X, because we wanted to watch these shows, but we weren't in control in 2 ways. Number one, the technology, which I just mentioned. And number two, our parents often controlled the television. So if John wanted to watch his Incredible Hulk, but his mother or father wanted to watch Dynasty, John was probably fucked.
Yeah.
And he didn't get to watch Incredible Hulk until the rerun came in the summer when his parents might be a little bit more inclined to let him watch because their stuff was also off season.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. For me, that was Mission Impossible. That's what Dad wanted to watch. The Rifleman. That's what I wanted to watch. So luckily, we had a black and white TV in the bedroom, and it was a black and white show, so I could go and watch it.
See, you had to have that extra TV.
Yeah. I did. There's a way to do it. We're talking about Gen X, obviously, but we were the beginning of the era, the very, very early Gen Xers, late boomers, that there was even such a thing possible as a rerun, because I Love Lucy you can watch every episode of I Love Lucy.
Yes.
But you can't watch all the Honeymooners, because the Honeymooners was live. It was not recorded.
That's right.
Very few were recorded, just like air check stuff. What we have of the Honeymooners is like 20 or 30 episodes or something, maybe more than that, but it's not everything.
Right.
But we could. The technology, not that we had, but that the networks had, they're like, oh, maybe it's not live. Maybe it's recorded in front of a live studio audience, though. That's why they had the live studio audience, because everyone was used to TV shows being live. So they're going to record it. Let's do a studio audience so it feels live at least. Mm-hmm. And then we were the beneficiaries of that technology that pushed the. Now you could have a rerun. There weren't Honeymooners reruns. There were Honeymooners, and the next one came and the next one came. But now there was a opportunity to see it later.
Yeah, see, you guys at least had an advantage that at least your parents wanted to watch something that was semi-interesting. My dad wanted to watch something like Masterpiece Theater. All right. I was like,
your dad was on the PBS network.
Oh, he was totally, which I was like, oh my God. I was like, there's just like, just shoot me, because I'll go read a book. I'm sorry.
You're like, channel 2, channel 3? No, put it on channel U.
Yeah. For us, it was 13. It was channel 13 was the
going
one.
Deep in the dial.
But yeah, no, I think those are really good points, because like you said, it actually didn't even occur to me, John, that's why they sometimes say like, oh, lost episodes. Because they didn't realize that somebody had recorded it somewhere. Some way they could show it, and they have it still somehow mysteriously,
and some of them wildly variable quality because of that. Yeah,
I mean, and to John's other statement that he made, think about when it was the mid 80s when we started getting the disclaimer at the beginning of a show, recorded live in front of a studio audience. Right?
Do they even do that anymore? Ever? Like,
I don't
think they
hear
say
that
it
being said.
But has there ever been a show, like a modern show that has been done?
Oh yeah. Whose Line Is It Anyway is still airing.
Oh, I meant like sitcom kind of serial.
Oh, Big Bang
like
Theory.
Kind of thing. Oh, that was
Seinfeld.
that was still done.
Oh, it's all studio audience.
Oh, really? Okay,
Now
I didn't realize that.
They sweetened the laugh track some, but yes, it's live studio audience. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I have when I was living in Hollywood, I went to an episode of Whose Line Is It Anyway, and
cool.
There's a part where they did something really funny, and I can actually pick out my laugh on the episode. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I can hear in the background. Hey, here's me.
Oh man.
Were you close to the front, or were we just that loud?
No, I was just that loud.
It just gotcha.
That's cool. Reruns are important to me because it's that we talk about the control your own destiny. There was nothing worse than missing the beginning of a show, like the first couple of episodes of a serialized show, like Twin Peaks was a big example. That was David Lynch, right? It's like
David Lynch. Yeah.
And that was very early in like serialized storytelling. It wasn't episodic. You had to be there.
You had to be there. And if you missed one or two episodes, you had to, you really were out of luck. Either you had to have someone tell you what happened, which is usually what happened, right? You got to a friend, because there wasn't the days of, I'm just going to keep it a secret. I haven't seen it yet. That you see today. No one's waiting 26 weeks to talk about a show. They're going to talk about it right then and there.
Right. They'll give you that kind of buffer.
And there was a whole thing where it's just like, especially that show, because it was so popular. And I felt bad because I missed the first few episodes, watched the third one, didn't understand a damn thing that was happening in it. and I've never watched it since. So.
Oh, no.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question then, because you're talking about the reruns being important in that case. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Twin Peaks came out at a time when VCRs were a little bit more commonplace. So it doesn't sound like, though, that you either had access to a VCR or hadn't recorded it so that you could catch up and watch it at some point.
No, I didn't at that time. We were kind of late to the VCR game in my house. So,
and then it was Flash in 12, so you couldn't schedule. Yeah, that's the joke.
But then again, it's like, it was the nice thing about the reruns, though, is like, in a way, sometimes it was kind of nice missing some of those episodes, because then it gave you something new in the summer to watch,
like John's Firefly episodes.
Yeah, that he's going to watch one
I still
day.
have two.
I remember like one was like Taxi. I love Taxi. I watched that but there was something I missed. And then it was something to look forward to. You see the TV guide, with the R next to it when there's a rerun. And I'm like, oh, that's the episode I missed.
It was like a nice surprise in your Cracker Jack box while you were eating Cracker Jacks. Like the show itself was the Cracker Jacks, but then you got that nice surprise of the episode you had never seen.
Right.
And it's not just a stupid tattoo. It's a real toy.
Right.
But it makes me wonder, is that why the shows back then were more episodic? Was because they didn't want to rely on people having to watch it week by week by week.
They couldn't count on you having seen the last one or being here for the next one. Yeah.
Well, because, and think about it, the only real serialized stuff you had up until mid 80s, late 80s were the old serialized things on Saturday mornings in the movie theaters, like when our parents were kids, like the Flash Gordons.
Weren't soap operas too, though? Those were 50s and 60s.
But people
right?
watch those religiously, though.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could count soap operas, but that's not real TV.
You don't miss soap operas.
You don't.
Yeah. I don't count soap operas as TV, though.
Yeah.
But, okay. Wow, a little judgy.
My grandma's going to watch her stories. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But it's funny because those never did reruns, I don't believe.
I don't think they did. No, I don't think they did. And again, a lot of the early ones, not recorded. Yeah.
Well, and they also didn't have a 26 episode season. They were 52 weeks a year.
Yeah, that's right. They're always
all year
on.
long, right?
Yeah. And low budget and looked it.
Yeah.
Although a lot of great actors came out of the soap operas. Yeah.
A lot of people developed their chops because they had to.
Yeah. Yeah. You get into reps, right? It's one of those things is you get in all the reps, do something, 10,000 reps, and you're finally going to be good at it, or 10,000 hours, whatever. That didn't take long.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about why was it for me as a Gen Xer, why was it important? And the repetition, the light repetition, I'll say, because in a show, you get stuff like, hey, what's happening? You get these catchphrases and lines like that you would start to have in school. But I'm thinking more of the repetition of when there was a really good episode. You have a rumor that nobody else knows about. You're not going to believe what I know, right? And so if there was an episode of The Greatest American Hero, like, did you see the one where he did such and such, or he was able to do whatever? And they're like, no, I didn't. Well, I do. I saw it. I have information you don't have. And then they would call bullshit on me. Like, no, he didn't. He can't read minds or whatever. Like, just you wait. And so it was almost like this setup and payoff that would happen for me because I knew a repeat was coming. And I'm looking at the TV guide. When's it the one? I don't know we don't know episode names. I don't know what it was called. It's not the one where whatever.
Yeah.
But I try to read the description. Oh, I think it's coming up this week. And I could tell that John Fender that lives up the street, they didn't believe me. Like, okay, the one I told you about is going to be on this Friday night. It's the repeat of this one. And it created this culture that you couldn't have today if you have access to streaming. You'd be like, well, fast forward, load it up, fast forward to that part, and you could prove it. But yeah.
It's so funny to me that John's reason for reruns being important are to showing up his friends and proving them wrong. That says so much about the man I've known for over 30 years.
That's one interpretation. I'm just saying how you had fun with the information until it could be proven or disproven.
Right. You had to wait 26 weeks or whatever number of weeks until the show came back so you could say, see, I told you so, basically.
Yeah, because you could create this, and you could lie. You could say that it has something happened because did you miss it? Oh, I didn't see it. Oh, such and such died. What? You could play with it, but it's an experience that you just can't replicate. You couldn't before because they weren't recorded. You weren't going to see them again. Mm-hmm. And in the ages of streaming, even if you don't have access to streaming, you could go to the library and go online and look on Wikipedia and get a list of all the episodes and find out if something exists, even if you can't watch it. So now there's a way to verify the veracity of my claims. And before Gen X, there was no way to even go back and check. And the fact that you had that repetition that was reliable and it was coming on a schedule, it was fun to me. For that, maybe not to all Gen X, but it was fun to me because of how you could predict when it was going to come back around and get a second bite of the apple. Like, oh, I love this episode, even if you're not trying to prove somebody right or wrong. Thank you, George. But if you're not trying to do that, it was your favorite episode. It built anticipation for, I already know I love this one. Oh, the one where the Duke boys are going to jump the tractor or whatever. I'm like, I can't wait to see that one again because we couldn't record it. So I know later in the year when the repeats come around, I can watch and re-enjoy that one in a way that binging streaming you can't do anymore today. So it made you appreciate things a little more because they were so metered. However you use the information, it was more metered. And I thought that was cool.
It's funny. Just general questions. Like, we watched shows that were from way before our generation, right?
Oh, yeah.
Andy Griffith Show, Honeymooners, all these things. I don't think my kids ever watched like sitcoms that I grew up with that much.
They don't have to.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah. They can watch whatever they want on demand, it seems.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
As long as the algorithm allows it.
That's right. That's right. The discoverability, that's another thing that's, everything is catered to you these days. Yeah, I was talking with a friend the other day about how music is like that. It's like, well, you don't discover music because you don't watch MTV and being fed whatever everybody else is watching. What you listen to, it's catered to what you like. Whatever you thumbs up, it gives you lots more of that and not something else. So it's harder to discover things. So it was that limited access that I like so much. So,
oh, man. Okay.
Spirited discussion and a little bit of shade thrown. That's okay. That's okay.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just
speaking into the void?
But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're a die-hard Gen X grown-up, you can pledge your support by clicking join on YouTube or by becoming a patron at GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon.
Wednesday, it's an all-new night with some brand new faces and a few old friends.
We'll give you a try.
Ah, thank you.
The boys land new jobs at a Chicago newspaper
Now, watch yourself.
on the season premiere of Perfect Strangers.
I did it!
Take a lesson in weird science.
I have discovered an asteroid.
It's back to school time on the season premiere of Head of the Class.
2 out of 7, man with an accident.
Then, from the creators of Hill Street Blues and L.A. Law, a new look at an American original.
This is outrageous.
John Ritter is Hooperman.
I think that's a fair question, don't you?
Dabney Coleman is sports writer Slap Maxwell.
I can back up everything I write half the time.
The Slap Maxwell story. Where it ended
I've come back for you, Crystal.
was only the beginning.
You're gonna have to kill me first.
The season premiere of Dynasty. Wednesday, something new is happening on ABC.
In this final segment of the show, we're going to talk about the decline, we're going to talk about the decline of the rerun, or maybe its significance. But before we get right into that, I want to kind of have a quick round robin and talk about, do you have a particular rerun experience, something related to when reruns come around or how you experience them or maybe why they're important to you? And I see Mo nodding, so I'm going to start with him. What's your memorable rerun experience?
I think this is a shared experience from anybody who watched TV during that time. Favorite show you're looking forward to, right? Okay. You got the TV. Mm-hmm. It's on the air. You're watching it. All of a sudden, beep, this is a special report from the network channel.
Yep.
The State of the Union address. No!
Yeah, oh my God, the State of the Union addresses. Oh my God.
He's on every channel.
He's on every freaking channel. And for those who don't understand why this is so bad, is that in the background, the show was still running.
Mm-hmm.
They did not pause the show.
No.
And if the guy talked for 15 minutes, they started showing it from 15 minutes in.
Yep. You're right.
And if it wasn't for the rerun, you would never know what happens. But oh my God, I mean, there would be little screams sometimes in my house, especially if it was my dad. He'd be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I mean, if it was a show he really wanted to watch, because he didn't watch that much.
How could you, Masterpiece Theater?
Yeah, I know exactly. Upstairs, downstairs. But that's what I think all of us had. But oh my God, that was so aggravating.
Yeah. What about you, George? You have a particular rerun memory related to this?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of shows that I really enjoyed. And fortunately, when my father wasn't around during the evenings, my mother would let me watch pretty much anything I wanted because, she didn't care that much about TV. So I got most of the control over the television, probably in my middle, teenage years, 10 to 14 or 15 or so. Cool. And I remember specifically, I had gone outside to play with the neighborhood kids, football, baseball, something outside, throwing rocks at each other. Who knows? But we went outside to play and we lost track of time.
Uh-oh.
And I missed that week's Battlestar Galactica.
Uh-oh.
And it was the second part of a two-part.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh,
damn it.
My heart
because they
hurts
did
for you,
like
man.
6 of those in that first season. There was part 1 and 2 of the Ice Planet and part 1 and 2 of this and blah, blah, blah. So I had to go to school the next day when my other friends who did like Battlestar Galactica were talking about, oh, can you believe they did this and did this? And so everything was spoiled for me. But when I got to watch the rerun later on in that summer, I remember specifically being so angry every time something happened on the screen that I remembered those assholes talking about that day in class.
It was not a surprise anymore.
Because everything was spoiled. And this was before spoilers was a term. And I felt so mad at myself that I can remember almost swearing to myself. I think it was like 10 when that show came out, maybe 9, something like that. I can almost remember swearing to myself, I'm never playing outside again. Just because I was so mad that I missed that one show. But yeah, it was something that made me appreciate reruns and at the same time hate my choices.
Damn it.
What about you, John?
Yeah. Mine is tangentially similar to yours, but in a different way. It wasn't so much. Well, here's the thing. I'm a bionic dork, $6 Million Man, bionic woman. I can tell you the name of the dog and how he got his name. Anybody? No? Maximilian. Cost $1 million. Name is Max. Anyway. Loved. I wasn't as religiously committed to the bionic woman. She came along later. I loved it. I watched it, but not every single time. Or maybe it was because if I missed it, I wasn't as upset. Maybe my dad watched something else on that night. I don't know. But they let me watch $6 Million Man because they knew how much I loved it. Because they knew, because they had to buy the action figures. They're aware of my obsession. So what I was not aware of is that I watched an episode of A $6 Million Man. And I felt very lost. I didn't understand. I mean, they'll say, last time on, the story, it was a continuation. I'm like, well, this says it's part 2 and it's there's a storyline called Kill Oscar where like there's hypnosis or something involved to try to trigger people and hear a key word to kill Oscar Goldman, the boss of OSI. And I'm like, well, how did this get set up? How did I miss this? What's going on? And then I'm like, well, now I feel lost, and I watched the whole episode. And the next week I watched it and they didn't talk about it again. What I didn't know is that this was a crossover. Part 1 was on the Bionic Woman. Part 2 was on the $6 Million Man. And then the conclusion was back on the Bionic Woman. And I guess they said that, but I wasn't paying attention. The conclusion next week on the Bionic Woman. They just said it was over. It was time for the next show, and I wasn't paying attention. And so I watched the middle of this Kill Oscar storyline. And it wasn't until later in the year that I was able to find the beginning of the story and the end of the story, because otherwise, God knows when I would have seen it, but they broke it up into pieces like that. So that was the one that didn't make me mad at the rerun. It made me glad the rerun was there, but it probably was more mad that I didn't get to watch it the first time around. But it was weird watching it the second time.
Well, it didn't make a lot of sense to you, right?
Because you know what's coming and you know how it's going to end. You just didn't get to check that. And to that point, we mentioned before we started the episode, we've alluded to this a couple of times. We keep talking about back when they had reruns. And George made a really solid point that they're not actually gone, just depending upon your access to certain technology, they become less relevant, right?
Yeah. So when we first were picking this topic, I don't know why my brain went this direction, but I immediately started thinking that even the topic itself was almost dismissive of a large population on planet Earth who might watch television, because not everybody has access to streaming or a recording system or even a VCR. I mean, as they're still dying around the world and whatnot, their VCRs are, getting a smaller and smaller. Anyway, there are a lot of people, even in this country, in the United States, that have to watch television the way we had to watch it when we were kids. You either watch it on one of the 3 networks when it's airing the first time, or your ass is waiting until it hits a rerun. And they still do reruns on network television. All 4 of the networks have reruns for their main shows. I know that some of my shows air in these really weird ways that they didn't back in the day. Like, for instance, I love The Rookie. And The Rookie has hopped around its airing schedule. And I don't mean the day and time, but I mean the order of the year. Sometimes it started in the fall, had a mid-season break, and then finished off in the spring. Sometimes that bitch only ran during the winter. And then sometimes it started in the spring like this year. If you're in an area where you don't have access to good internet, and I know some people, well, Starlink's everywhere. Yeah, but some people can't afford that shit, and it's not that great to begin with.
Right.
If you don't have a good cell signal, if you don't have the money to afford those things, you're at the mercy of what is still mandated in this country of over-the-air airwaves television. That's still a thing that has to be done.
Sure.
And that's why I was like, to say that the reruns are no longer here, the rise and fall of the rerun is disingenuous because, I'm not going to say they didn't rise and they didn't slump off, but they're not gone.
Right. Yeah. They're no longer, the imperative for everyone is not there. But you're right. Terrestrial television, if that's what you watch, you still have the same conundrum that if you don't have access to streaming or an account with streaming or any kind of internet, you have the exact same problem. And it's more confusing now because it used to be, oh, the fall season kicked off. Let's watch all the new shows. They're whatever the hell they want. And sometimes they're 10 episodes long and sometimes they're 20 and sometimes you never know.
One thing, though, I think has changed today, though, I think across the board is digital TV, HD TV, because that's now, because they only do analog anymore, right? That's gone at this point. Is that correct? I don't think they do.
So
I think it is supposed to be digital.
Over-the-air signal is digital.
Yeah.
Right.
But it can be received on an analog system with converters.
Right, with converters.
So
right.
you can
need a
still
special
use an
box.
antenna to
Yeah,
pick it
right.
up.
Yeah.
But because that digital, I was day to day, I was on my TV, I just had my HD antenna and I was just going through digital channels. And there are a large number of, I guess, the equivalent of old rerun station, channels out there now, which is also a little bit different. But I totally agree, Jose. There's still people, though, that even that may be their only way of watching a show again, right? That may be the only way they have it.
Yeah, it's like Nick at Night has become a cottage industry. There's like, specifically the,
game show.
I don't know. Right, game show. The game show. There's a whole channel for just old reruns of game shows and stuff like that. And did they even rerun game shows before? Like there was no need for rerunning game shows, but now they do because they had them recorded.
News, really.
Yeah.
So,
and you have the ability now, of course, assuming we're going to assume a lot of the decline of this. And you said not gone, but slumped off a lot because a lot of the people now have access to technologies like were so important to you that eliminate the need for things. You started to get TiVo. God, I was a TiVo super fan. I love my TiVo. That was the first time shifting I ever saw. My wife was like, the X-Files was the show we couldn't miss. And I remember Sunday nights, the first time I said, we don't have to be home on time. TiVo's going to catch the X-Files. And she said, it by God better. Or that would have been the end of TiVo if it didn't catch the X-Files. When we got home, 30 minutes late, started reading in. You're like, oh my God, damn, this works. Holy crap. And now you could start to explore other ways to do that.
Yeah. And also it's a lot easier than what we had to when we had VHS tapes, because you had to program your VCR. You had to have a taping machine. You had to,
Everybody's recording everything for you. Just watch it.
Yeah. One of the things that also like show like on like we like Abbott Elementary as a show we watch often.
Yeah.
But once it airs, if you miss the episode, catch it on the Peacock channel. Like immediately it's there.
On Plus.
On Plus. And it's there 24/7. Anytime you want to watch it again, it's always there for you.
It's interesting because I know we've gone back and forth between the definitions of reruns and syndications throughout this podcast. And I know we could go on for another 2 or 3 hours probably talking about this topic and debating things. Because of the technology and those who have access to it, it's almost as though people can become their own syndication networks now.
Oh, sure.
In a sense,
you are basically.
Right? You can pick and choose the things that are on your Plex server that, the three of us all have and run.
Yeah.
You can pick and choose when you want to watch them or how you want to watch them. Commercials are automatically edited out, as John was talking about with his X-Files experience. You could fast forward now. There's no commercial in anything on my Plex server because
you don't even have to fast forward
the
anymore.
server just gets rid of I wonder if that luxury for the people who have it is why it feels like reruns are dead.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's the concept. If you have access to those things, as you said, the concept of a rerun is irrelevant because you're not watching the first run.
Right.
You don't care. I couldn't tell you what night St. Denis Medical comes on. Love that show. I have no idea. Whenever it pops up is when I watch it. In reality, okay, thank you. So in reality, I don't watch. For me, the rerun is whenever the hell I feel like it, and that's my first run. I'm not even there for the initial one. Sometimes I'll watch it 2 days later, because we made a point many times on the show saying, oh, this show is so good, I watch it the day it drops. Like that's some revelation.
That used to be all you could do. Exception now for us.
Right, that's the exception.
Well, it used to be the day and hour. Like now it's like
the day and hour and minute. Right. Yeah. Everybody was experiencing it at the same time. Now that's rare. We call it out if we're watching it at the real time.
I mean, that's the kind of thing I was talking about before a little bit, about how like people are like, oh, don't tell me anything about it. I haven't watched it yet. Which again, it's like you have to,
it's already aired. Shut up. We're going to talk about it.
It's already aired. But again, it's not that shared experience again, where that if people watch Quantum Leap when it was on the first time, everyone who watched that episode together at the same time.
Yep.
As a collective national consciousness.
Right. There you go. That's a good word for it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and plus there was the benefit of first run television leading into the rerun, or sometimes you'd have a rerun and you'd have these mid-season replacements like, well, instead of reruns, we're going to start these new shows. Networks were able to structure an evening to prop up or give a boost to a show. We're going to run this right after Cosby to give it a real chance to do well.
Thursday nights. Yeah, that magic Thursday night.
Or we're going to move it off of that night because we don't like it as much. We're killing it. You could almost tell the network's attitude by what made it to reruns or not. If there was a mid-season replacement that came in, you're like, wait a minute, we're not seeing any more of this? Oh, I guess they killed it. That's before you could read Entertainment Weekly and find out what they'd killed. You're like, how come there's no reruns? Oh, they've already moved on from this.
Yeah.
And diversity has done one thing. Mo talked about it earlier in one of the segments about the 100 episode rule needed for syndication.
Yeah.
You look at a show like Firefly, which gets regular airings now on things like Sci-Fi Channel and whatnot.
Yeah.
Amazing show.
It's got 13 episodes, ladies and gentlemen.
I know.
It's not getting even close to 100.
Don't care anymore.
But because it was so beloved, it's out there because people know if you put that on the air and somebody happens to be scrolling through,
they're going to stop.
They're going to stop and watch it.
Yeah.
And I love that we live in an era now where we can exert that influence on people who really don't give a shit about what we like, only care about what we'll watch. They don't care for like, oh, I know that this is a great storyline and great character. They don't give a shit. As long as it keeps you glued long enough that you might accidentally watch an ad that they can sell, that's all they care about. And probably all they've ever cared about. But at least now we can say, by God, Firefly was fucking awesome. And I'm not going to watch the 20 million episodes of this other shit thing. If I see Firefly,
I'm going to rewatch that.
You'll know that I'm watching it.
Yeah. And that 100 episode rule is, you said it's out the window. These days, that would take 10 seasons of a lot of shows. That have just 8 and 10 episodes apiece. That old 100 episode rule just took 4 years to get there.
Yeah, that's true.
Now you'd have to be grinding for a decade to hit that number. No, they're little niche shows. They're little, somebody talked about, a friend of mine and I were talking about how Netflix loves to cancel shows, even good ones, whereas Apple TV will give something breathing room. And I said, well, that's because if you signed up to Netflix to watch a show, you're there to watch it. And if it goes away, you're probably not going to unsubscribe from Netflix right away. They want to rather have a new show that they could push to get new subscribers, because that's how they get their money. They're not in the business of making good TV last. They're in the business of getting subscribers. It's a totally different mindset in the streaming world. So you don't get the cultural impact of first run and reruns like we did.
Unless it's COVID and you have Tiger King.
We're all watching Tiger King. Was that a happy coincidence or was that an unfortunate coincidence that we all watched Tiger King? I'm not sure.
Guess it depends on whether you're the tiger or the lion.
What happened to her husband? We may never know. All right. we really know. All right. I think we've run this into the ground. I think reruns are still around, but boy, are they less relevant. They've had a huge rise. We know why they existed and how they impacted us. And for a lot of us, it has changed dramatically the way we interact with the media that we so much enjoy. I want to thank Mo for doing all this research and digging into the background of reruns. Appreciate you, Mo, digging in on that stuff. It always is a grind sometimes to find all that stuff. When one person spearheads it, really appreciate it. So thank you.
No worries.
That is going to wrap it up for this Backtrack edition of the show. Before we leave you, I do want to thank another new Patreon supporter that joined us. I want to thank Josh, who signed up just a couple weeks weeks ago during the holiday season, and I don't always call out dollar numbers, but some people are just generous. Josh jumped in at that $25 pledge level.
That's awesome.
And look, it's not that we appreciate 25 more than one. It's just that 25 is 25 ones. It's Josh is helping us get a lot more leeway there. And you are contributing so much. We want to call you out and make sure you know how much we do appreciate your generosity in helping us. Josh is literally paying the monthly fee effectively for this recording platform that we're on right now to record the podcast. That costs us like $25 a month. It goes a long way. Josh, we appreciate that you headed over to patreon.com/GenXGrownUp, opened up your heart and your wallet, and said, I want to support what you guys do here at GenXGrownUp. I want to support Bo and John, George, to a lesser extent, possibly, to make sure that everybody gets some love. Thank you, Josh. We're so grateful for you and everyone that continues to support us on Patreon. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the show. Don't worry if you were worried. Please do not worry. We will be back in 2 weeks with another Backtrack, and next week is a regular edition of our show. Until then, I'm John. George, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yes, sir.
Mo, I appreciate you, sir.
Always fun.
Fourth listener, you probably already know we appreciate you most of all, though. We can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
Gen X Grown Up is a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.
While she shows till sunrise. Unacceptable for grown-ups. Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
All right, this is Backtrack 204, The Rise and Fall of the Rerun, which is, I thought you would love the clickbaity title. Because somebody's going to go, they didn't fall. Good, click and listen. We got you.
Do podcasts have clickbait? I mean,
sure, why not?
Let's just say it does. Really, sorry. And how they really kind of just really, oh God, what word I'm going to say there?
Really?
I'm terrible at this.
Really?
Really? It's like, really?
That's good. Eighth take is the best. Always.
I'm sorry
That's
about
what
that.
I found.
I don't have that natural gift that John has.
We call that bullshitting.
Yeah, I don't.
I think you got it.
That's an important gift, I think.
I've used it to my advantage over the years.
Advantage many times. I love loosely.
I love loosely. Well, you do, but